Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Hasbro Tuesday. Today we are on episode 12. So we have already completed the first 11 series of the Hasbro review. Now we are working on the Hasbro mailaways and prototypes. So when we look at the figures today, obviously I'm not going to have any of these figures, the mailaways or prototype figures, because, well, a lot of stuff are non-existent, or if you have the prototypes, you're talking $30,000, $40,000 figures, and there's probably, Matt Cardona type money. I think he might have like an original Greg Valentine type prototype, and, nobody outside of, Matt Cardona, really owns those type of figures, right? So basically, a lot of the figures you're going to look at are customs, but for the purpose of today's video, you're pretty much going to understand what type of figures, what they are supposed to look like. So it doesn't matter, Moonbelly, Kamala, etc. You're not going to pay. Nobody out here is paying $30,000 for a Moonbelly Kamala. That's just not going to happen. I purchased a couple of mint on card Kamala Hasbro figures, and I sent them out to my buddy a few months back, and I was hoping to have a custom Moonbelly, mint on card for this video. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten it back yet, so I'm still waiting for that custom MOC to come back. So, I'm SOL for this particular video. That's okay. I still have a loose figure from a previous customizer, so I'll still have something to show off. Now, in this particular video, we're going to look at a few variations as well. Now, in this video, we're not going to be talking about any mint on card variations. We're only looking at loose figures. Now, when I'm talking about mint on card, for example, when you're looking at a mint on card figure, right, there's certain things that you're looking at. For example, you're looking at ages 4 and up. Some MOCs might say ages 5 and up. Sometimes it might say official on the top of the card. Sometimes it doesn't say official. At the bottom of the card, you'll see this little ASST down here. It might say something like 7021. I think this says 7025, and this says 7021/7025. You might see 70/24, 26, etc. So those are variations of the card. Sometimes you'll see Hulk Hogan, you'll see Ultimate Warrior, etc. You'll have it in the top corner. Sometimes you'll see variations where you'll have the exact figure. It'll be blank up here. Sometimes you'll have a SummerSlam variation. So those are variants for the mint on card figures as some examples. Again, we're not getting into the variants of the cards. We're only looking at variations of the actual action figures. And Hasbro doesn't have as many variants as a line like the, LJN Wrestling Superstars, but it does have its own variants here and there. I'm pretty sure I'm going to miss a number of figures, but I do have a select few here, so we are going to be able to go over, something, which is pretty awesome. One of the things I want to start off with is Series 1, because this is actually a pretty popular one. Now, with this particular figure, you kind of think about the 1980s. Think about LJN. Now, think about, what's a good example? Think about Jesse Ventura. A lot of people complain about the pink variation of the pants, or the color of his mustache, right, or his hair. People are like, okay, well, maybe it went to a different factory, or maybe they opened a different can of paint, right? So the pink of the pants might be different because it's made in a different factory. It's not necessarily a variant. It's just that they utilize different pink because it was manufactured at a different location. So it wasn't an intended variant. It's just, different utilization of different sort of pink. But this particular figure we're looking at, Series 1, Rick Rude. Same exact type of scenario. Because Rick Rude is synonymous in Series 1 for having purple pants, right? But if you look at one of his additional figures, he does have purple-ish pants, but if you look closer, one is obviously purple pants, where the other one is more of pink pants. Pink pants, or maybe light purple, where the other one is sort of a dark purple. So, this has its own variation of, Rick Rude as an example. So it is its own variant. I've heard that people have said, like, Rick Martel has his own variation. I don't have any Rick Martel duplicates. I mean, I've had a million Rick Martel figures that I have bought and sold. I've never noticed any differentiation in the pink of the boots or the trunks. So I've never even tried to, hold on to an extra one. So, but, some people say sometimes there's a darker pink of Rick Martel. Is that possible? I don't know. But Rick Rude is definitely one of those variants that you will notice in the Hasbro line. What's another good example? There's others out there, man. I'm trying to think of some other variants. Maybe it'll probably come to me eventually. But let's go. Let's get to the prototypes, because the prototypes is actually the ones that I'm really excited about. So, Series 3. In Series 3, actually, let's go with this figure. Series 3, the WWF released one of its most popular characters, and they were going to release a tag team member. And in fact, if you actually look at the back of one of the cards, one of the Hasbro cards, it'll say tag teams. It'll say Bushwhackers. It'll say Legion of Doom, I believe. It'll say Rockers, and it'll say the Dream Team, or I'm sorry, not the Dream Team. I'm way off. It'll say Rhythm and Blues. And this character was going to be made alongside tag team partner, the Honky Tonk Man. And he looked terrible with black hair. I mean, absolutely god-awful. In shoot interviews, Greg Valentine actually said that he was very uncomfortable playing a sort of Elvis Presley impersonator, but, he was going to get his own Rhythm and Blues action figure, but the Rhythm and Blues tag team broke up, so that action figure was actually scrapped. But Greg Valentine, Rhythm and Blues, was intended to be released, but because the Rhythm and Blues tag team was broken up, that nixed the idea. But like I said, if you actually look on the back of the Hasbro tag team sets, it actually says, in fact, does this say it? This one does not. Yeah. See, like this card here. Now, this is a make-believe one, but because the bubble that they utilized on this one, like this is a custom card back, but they utilized a Series 3 original Hasbro bubble. And you could tell because they got the arm punching, bubble still utilized on here. And this is what I've been talking about in the past, where a lot of time customizers, they create all these amazing characters, right? Like Big John Studd and Rhythm and Blues Greg Valentine and Bastion Booger and Zeus, and just all these amazing characters. And then later on, all of these other companies like Grapples and Gimmicks and Mattel Retros and Zombie Sailors, etc. They're all creating these characters now. So now all these customizers that put all this time and effort in creating these figures, they're basically obsolete, because who wants to buy a custom figure when you could buy an actual name brand figure, right? So, but I bought this figure probably, a couple years back, so, and I was, glad to pick this up. This was an amazing pickup. Epic Toys actually did a really amazing, awesome rhythm blues themselves. And actually, with sometime in the next few days, I'm probably going to post a new video looking at some of the rhythm and blues Greg Valentine figures to include that custom Mattel Retros and this figure, because I just opened this one up a couple days ago after a million years, and I want to kind of compare the different rhythm and blues Greg Valentine. But I think Matt Cardona, I think he said he spent like 40 grand to buy the actual prototype of Greg Valentine's Rhythm and Blues. And I mean, nowadays, because once Mattel Retros released their figure and with Epic Toys releasing their own, it's like, darn, shoot, you spent 40 grand on that action figure and it wasn't even necessary because now you actually have your Rhythm and Blues Greg Valentine. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's more than grateful to have that actual prototype because it's still the original Hasbro figure, right? And, I'm pretty sure he's made more than enough money in professional wrestling and with his new business venture with Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Big Rubber Guys. So, I'm sure he's not hurting for money, but still. But this should have been made way back when. And the Series 3 Greg Valentine figure that was released, it's a good figure, but because Hasbro is so deep in action figures, it's probably one of my least favorite figures. Not bad, it's just very simple. But as far as prototypes go, I mean, it didn't stop there. Series 3 also came out, and this sucks. This one broke. I should not have kept this in his hand. I think I broke it by doing that. Well, maybe I will be able to keep half of this in his hand. Stupid me. But, well, this looks terrible. I want to display them in these cases with the accessory in their hands, and I broke it. I'm stupid. But Series 3, as we know, got that amazing Brutus Beefcake zebra pants, but the original prototype idea was for the Mega Maniacs version to go alongside his Mega Maniac teammate, Hulk Hogan. Now, at WrestleMania, what was it, 9? No, WrestleMania 10 in 1994, we saw Hulk Hogan, obviously, right after Yokozuna defeated Bret Hart. He go in, he beat up Yokozuna, 10 seconds later pins him, and becomes heavyweight champion. In one of the most hated events ever, one of the most hated title changes ever. They should have just let Yokozuna stay champion at that point. But you see this particular figure, and if this figure was actually made, and I think that Series 3 White Pants Zebra, that could have been released maybe in Series 4, Series 5, later on, Series 7, 10, whenever, and that still would have been a very beloved and coveted release. But, or maybe they could have released this later on, Series 5, 10, Series 11, etc. But I think if this figure was made and was released in Hasbro, I kind of feel like this would be right up there with like the 1-2-3 Kid or something. I feel like this would be, or, at least a Series 8 Hasbro of Undertaker and Bret Hart, like $500-$600, mint on card figures. It's definitely one of my favorite color schemes, and Brutus Beefcake Series 3 is easily one of the top 15, top 20 best Hasbro figures ever made. And if you guys watched the My Favorite Hasbro tournament that I made last year or the year before, this was one of my finalists, one of my last 3 standing. So this is a very important figure as part of my collection. And I can't remember why that this idea was scrapped, but the Mega Maniac Brutus still stands as one of the most coveted pieces. And there is prototypes out there. I'm not sure how many prototypes, but there is a collector. And I saw his channel not too long ago, probably a couple years ago, and he was talking about this actual figure. He actually has the real prototype, and I'm assuming he worked for Hasbro back in the day and had this piece, and absolutely amazing. Absolutely love this one. Now I'm gonna kind of skip ahead to a Mailaway figure because it kind of falls in line with the Series 3, and it falls in line with that Brutus Beefcake figure. So, kind of sticking with the Series 3, we also got the Hulk Hogan. Now, Hulk Hogan, obviously, Hulk Hogan had 4 releases with Hasbro, with Series 1, 2, 3, and again in Series 5. And every time Hulk Hogan got a new figure, he got a new figure, new play pose, which was awesome. Now, I kind of compare Series 2 and Series 3 to be the exact same figure, because Series 2, Bear Hug, once you open up the arms, you're basically turning your Series 2 figure into your Series 3 figure. You know, you close the arms, that's your Bear Hug. So, but I kind of, it's relatively the same figure. But with the arms being open, you can turn it, it's basically call it a new figure, right? But in 1992, you're also getting 3 new Mailaway figures. And that included 3 of probably your biggest superstars of the 90s, which included Hogan, Bret Hart, and The Undertaker. And kind of going with that WrestleMania, and I keep calling it WrestleMania 10, but that was 1994, and if this came out in 92, that wouldn't have equated. I'm trying to think real hard, because obviously I don't have the best memory in the world, but I'm sure, you guys in the comments will be able to correct me. But that's okay. I mean, I don't have to have the best history as far as the wrestling goes. We're just here for the figures, right? But again, please correct me in the comments as far as year release, or as far as when. I think it was WrestleMania 10 when he defeated Yokozuna. I'm almost positive. Then that was 1994. I'm almost positive that's when that happened. But and I'm pretty sure the Mailways were coming out in 92, 93. So, and he probably was wearing this because, again, he was tag teaming with Brutus Beefcake. So, just because that's when I recall this outfit doesn't mean that's when he first wore it. So, I mean, he was already, like I said, he was still tag teaming with Brutus Beefcake way before then. So, now, the original Hulk Hogan Mailaway in baggy, I mean, that's like a $1,200 figure. And that's the thing that I'm talking about with the Mailaway figures. I love this figure to death, right? And among the Hasbros, especially among the Hulk Hogan figures, this is my favorite Hulk Hogan figure. And when I talk about Hogan's, I say the Series 3, but in reality, the red. The red is the one that I love the most, but because I don't, it's a Mailaway, and the Mailaway I gotta kind of keep separate from the original 94 figures. But I will never go out, shell out $1,300, $1,200, $1,100. Basically anywhere near $1,000 for a loose figure. And those little baggies, they're still loose to me, right? So, and I take a Series 3 figure. I send it to my buddy Rob. He paints it up, $10, and here's your Mailaway. Perfection. A 100% replica. So, that's why I say, man, you got to go the custom route sometimes. And perfect. You're not taking, scraps. I mean, you're literally taking an actual Series 3 Hasbro, which is exactly what a Mailaway figure is. It's an actual Hasbro figure. So, that is Mailaway figure number 1. Now, before we get into Mailaway figure number 2, I want to talk about another kind of a sort of prototype. But this figure isn't a prototype. This is a Series 8 we're going to look at. But the Series 8 is sort of a prototype in essence, because the Series 8 figure is actually the original design for the original Mailaway. And the original design, and I really wish I had this because I wanted, again, this was one of those figures I was going to include in this video. The original design, I believe, had black elbow pads and white wristbands, if I recall correctly. So, black elbow pads, white wristbands, and on the back of the figure, I believe he had white stars going across the back right here. So, but everything else this was exactly what that prototype was supposed to look like. And this was the original design for that Mailaway. But I guess they were either rushing to try to get this figure out, or maybe there was just too much intricate detail that went into the figure. So they ended up scrapping it, and this was put on the back burner, and this figure was not released as part of that Mailaway design. So, what did they do? Well, in 1992, with Series 4, they had this figure released. Right? You already had a Bret Hart released, a very functional, perfect figure. Now, this is my Bret Hart from childhood, so this is always going to be one of my all-time favorite figures. Beautiful figure with the pink heart on the t-shirt. So, when the Mailaway was designed, all they did was add a purple heart on the t-shirt. Literally no change to the figure outside of adding that purple heart. But here is the issue with the purple heart Bret Hart. And it's twofold. Number one, a purple heart Bret Hart is, again, in baggy as a Mailaway. You're talking about another $1,000 figure, right? Crazy money. And Bret Hart loose is like a $20 to $40 figure, so it's insane to kind of spend $1,000 for a loose figure. And again, when it's not on card, like so, those baggies, I don't consider that to be MOC. They're not carded. They're baggies. They're loose, in my opinion. That's how I classify them. So, it's not worth $1,000. Now, when people say, well, what if they're out of the baggie? They're still Mailaways. True. But here's one of the biggest issues. In Series 4, variants. Oh yes, we still have more variants. In Series 4, mint on card, you could get a Bret Hart mint on card with pink heart. You could get a Bret Hart purple heart on shirt, mint on card. Same price, same figure. So the question is, if you own a purple heart Bret Hart, is it a legitimate Mailaway Bret Hart? Or is it a Bret Hart that you took out of package off of a MOC figure? Now, you can claim that you have a MOC figure or a Mailaway figure, and really, who's to sit there and argue with you that no, that it came out of a card? I could say all day, hey, this is a Purple Heart. I owned it as a kid. I mailed in the whatever and got in the mail. This is a Mailaway figure. Who's to tell me that I'm wrong? Who's to say that I'm lying? But at the end of the day, I think, who was it? Oh, man. I don't know if it was on Facebook or if it was on YouTube or someone, but someone made the argument, and I thought it was brilliant. The argument that they made was, if you've got a purple Mailaway Bret Hart loose, you've got a Series 4 carded Bret Hart loose, or something to that effect. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Could not agree more. Because you can't prove that it's a Mailaway figure, essentially, right? So you can't make that proof, and you can sit there with a COA or something, but I mean, how do they really verify? You really can't, because there's no defining difference between the figures. So, but you got your Series 4 Bret Hart. You got your Mailaway Bret Hart with purple. And then, of course, you got your Series 8 Bret Hart. And, of course, if you ever are able to find one, your prototype, which had the black and white with the stars on the back. And I really wish I had that figure, that at least a custom to kind of show you guys for reference. If I ever make this video again in the future, that figure will be included, but that's probably going to be months, possibly another year or two down the road. Moving along to the next variant. Now, this figure actually was sold in stores, and to think that this is one of the most expensive figures ever produced, and it is such a simple change, but it is the Moonbelly Series 7 Kamala. And you look at the original LJN Kamala, he's just got the little, moon right over the belly button of the figure, right? Beautiful figure. One of, the LJN Kamala is one of the greatest action figures ever, period. Kamala is one of those figures that always seems to get a perfect figure. I mean, even though this is a jumper, it's still a perfect figure. I mean, I love this Kamala figure, jumper or not. It's still fantastic. Now, the thing with Kamala is, like many wrestlers, pretty much anybody, right? In order to use their likeness, you got to get their permission, right? So, they weren't getting their permission to use their likeness or to use their design, stuff like that. So how do you use, if you don't get their permission, how do you get the workaround? Well, they stopped using the moon, and they started incorporating stars on his stomach. And to the best of my knowledge, he never had stars on his stomach, but that's what they started doing. And so now the stars on the stomach is the most common figure that you could find. So you find a regular star on stomach Kamala. I mean, once upon a time, I'd say Kamala with stars on his stomach is like a $15 figure, right? $20, $25. But for some reason today, that figure is selling for $50. Crazy. But I don't even think a Moonbelly Kamala is available on the open market. But if you find one, a mint on card, once upon a time I heard that, you know, people like collectors should always keep $5,000 in you know, a savings account or something, because if that one ever hit the market, you want to be able to buy that up immediately, because that was the going rate. And I think on eBay maybe a year or two ago, I actually saw somebody put a Moonbelly mint on card Kamala on eBay, and they were asking like $25,000. Well, it's like, shoot, what's the actual value of a Kamala? Is it 5,000? Is it 25,000? It's crazy. But nobody's paying that type of money, right? So when I bought a couple of MOC Kamalas, you know, the bubbles coming off the card, I'm like, you know what? I'm not paying 20 grand for a Kamala, right? I'm not paying 1 grand for a Kamala on a card. That's not happening. But I'll send it to my buddy Rob. I'll have him customize one for me, maybe, and you know, I'll have one for my personal collection. I'm good with the custom, and maybe I'll see if anyone's interested in a second figure customized, because someone out there is going to be like me and they're going to want a custom for their collection. They're, you know, maybe they'll pay a couple $100 for it. I mean, I know I would. So, but that's something, like I said, I really wanted that for this video, but unfortunately I don't have it. But at least I have at least one loose figure that I had previously. And Moonbelly Kamala, who would know that this particular figure would be as valuable as it is. Now, one of my absolute favorite figures ever, and I didn't bring out the original, so I am going to pause and grab that original. Alright, so original Series 4 Undertaker, right? We know the figure, nothing special about it. Well, it is special. One of my favorite figures ever. A figure I actually had as a kid. But he came with red hair. But in 1992, they also released that exact same figure as a Mailaway. Dude, you just showed us that figure. You just took off the belt. Did I? When I say this is literally the exact same figure, it is literally the exact same figure. The original Undertaker had like this reddish hair with eye paint under his eyes, right? And the Mailaway figure, eye paint under the eyes. The Mailaway, same as the original Series 4. Now, where the Series 4, you know, bright red hair, Mailaway was more of, you know, brownish, more brown red hair. And then just 4 series later, they came out with Series 8. But Series 8 had, you know, no face paint, and he had jet black hair. So you can always determine which type of figure you have based on the hair color. Series 8, jet black. Series 4, bright red. And a Mailaway with the brown hair. But essentially, with your purple Bret Hart, your brown hair Undertaker, and your red Hulk Hogan, you have your 3 Mailaway figures. Which ones are looking at? Oh. Then with Rhythm and Blues, Greg Valentine, and Mega Maniac, Brutus Beefcake, a couple of your prototypes. And of course, just a couple of your different variants that have come out. Yeah, and shoot, I mean, like I said, I'm sure there's plenty of different things out there that I'm missing. Like I've heard, like Macho Man, for example, has different color, trunks, like brighter trunks. I've heard there's supposed to be a variation where the original plan was like for green trunks, for example, but I mean, if any of that stuff was ever planned, I mean, who knows? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there are people out there who do know that answer, but like guys who actually work for Hasbro or who literally study this stuff for years and years. But man, overall, man, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And like I said, there's just so much history that goes into these toy lines, and these things are always just so much fun to learn about. And as time goes by, I myself, I learn more and more with time. So with the more knowledge that I acquire, I will continue to make these videos and update the information as it arises. So next week, Hasbro Tuesday will come to an end, as we will pick up with the last video, which is going to include the Grapplers and Gimmicks, the Zombie Sailors, and Mattel Retros figures. And why are we looking at those? Well, those figures, or those lines, produced some different characters, and those figures were released on Orange Card. Well, why were they released on Orange Card? Because they came out on, because the originally planned Hasbro Series 12 was supposed to be released on Orange Card, but Hasbro obviously lost the contract, and Hasbro Series 12 Orange Card was scrapped. So, 1995 Series 12 Orange Card. So, that's going to take care of Hasbro Series 12, and then we are on to LJN Wrestling Superstars. Once we get to Series 1 and Series 2, I'm going to do in one video. Series 1's probably be like an hour and a half video or more. Series 1 should probably be about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Series 3 at 17 figures, I might break that down into 2 or 3 videos, or I might do that straight through. Series 3 at 17 figures, if I do it straight through, it might be a 2 to 3 hour video. It's up to you guys if you want me to do that whole video straight through. You guys gotta let me know. Guys, I've been thinking about doing like what my buddy Kirk is kind of been recommending. I'm kind of following his lead. He once he hit 1,000 subscribers, he's doing a free gift giveaway, and I kind of want to follow suit. So once I hit 1,000 subs, there are a lot of things that I'm selling that don't sell. So kind of get things like Mattel Superstars that I have duplicates of, or I don't know, I have like this Andre the Giant Wrestling Superstars MOC. I mean, it's got like some stuff on it, like broken bubble or something, but I mean, still, even with some damage to the bubble or card, creases and whatnot, it's still a Wrestling Superstar, meant on card figure, right? So it's still gonna have some value to a collector, especially for those who don't have one or would like to start collecting. So things like that, I'm thinking about putting up for free giveaways. I have these red card Legends of Professional Wrestling that I'm thinking about putting up for free giveaways. If you're interested in like I have some additional Power Ranger mint on card, or the Ninja Turtles. Again, these are all spares, so it's not going to hurt me to start giving some of this. Guys, depending on how big my channel grows, and pass the word around. this is a duplicate. I'm telling you guys, if my channel hits like a massive number of subscribers, if I get like 2,000-3,000 subscribers, I'm telling you, I will give away a friggin' black hard Rick Rude. I mean, it's not the most crisp ever. It's got some creases and whatnot, but darn it, I will give away a darn Rick Rude if it helps build the channel as much as possible. So, I'm trying to think, man. There's some things around here. It'll help me clear some space. It'll help, help some new collectors, add on to their collection. And, I'm here for you guys, just like you guys are here to support me. I'm here for you guys as well. So, I'm sad that this Hasbro is coming to an end. I mean, this is my favorite toy line, so I hate that I don't get to talk about this line anymore, but the LJNs, they're my second favorite, so I'm excited to kind of move on to start talking about that line as well. But that's it for this video, guys. Pass the word around, and let's see how much traction we can make. Thank you so much for checking me out, guys, and talk to you in the comments, and see you in the next video. See you guys.